ZombiU first came out back in 2012 and was actually one of the better launch titles for the Wii U. Sadly, that console's poor reception has meant the game didn't really get the attention it deserved.
Yes, but much like its Walking Dead, the game has come back to life, and it's simply called Zombie.
Death will cloak the land, and those men who are not prepared will succumb to its foul clutches. For God shows no mercy on those who heed not his words.
Zombie has been tweaked a little in its transition to current gen, and we'll talk about those changes shortly, but the core gameplay does remain the same.
Indeed, at its core, it is a survival game, in which you'll scavenge supplies while bashing and shooting any zombies that get in your way. Plus, you've got the constant fear of permadeath hanging over your head. Succumb to the zombies and your character will be gone for good.
After dying, you begin the game as a completely different survivor, which I thought was pretty brutal initially, but thankfully you do get one chance to track down your previous character's body. But of course now they're a zombie, so you'll have to get your gear back the hard way.
There's not much story to speak of. The opening cutscene tells of a prophecy that foretold of a second blight that would wipe out London. But it's all a bit vague, and it feels like it was added as an afterthought, especially since the skip it button stays on the screen for the whole cutscene.
God shows no mercy on those who heed not his words.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see more of a commitment to plot, because the setting itself is one of the grittier zombie tales. You begin in a safe house under the guidance of the Prepper, a conspiracy nut who turned out to be very justified in his paranoia.
The last person I tried to help went outside without the pad, and look how that ended.
He sends you out on a bunch of fetch quests that gradually expand your arsenal and give you access to more areas of this nightmarish London. Although I'm not sure why daylight doesn't exist in this game. If zombie movies and games have taught us anything, is that it's always safer to go out and explore during the day.
It seems the devs were more interested in ramping up the scares than being practical, and they certainly succeeded at creating some real tension. Many areas are almost pitch black, forcing you to navigate with just your weak little torch. And when it's running low on batteries and flickering... Oh man, talk about freaky.
Yeah, that combination of darkness and zombies that can kill your character with one bite is a potent mix. Lone zombies are pretty easy to take out, especially as your melee weapons never break, but even a small group can quickly overwhelm and kill your character.
I just found the death so frustrating.
You didn't like the permadeath?
Not really. I mean, sure, it adds some real fear to the encounters, but come on, one zombie gets you and it's game over. I mean, that's not fun.
It's real life hacks.
I don't want real life, I want video games.
Get used to it.
And I thought the game was pretty cheap in the way it ambushed you with groups. I mean, suddenly there were half a dozen zombies, and before I can fumble through the clunky inventory system to get a more powerful weapon, I'm dead.
Yeah, there are some unfair deaths in the game, but I really like that. The permadeath is my favorite part of this game. It raises the gameplay stakes enough so that it can pull you through that relatively generic combat and scavenging.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think it should be harder. It should be much harder to get your stuff back. If you've already cleared all the zombies along the way to the point where you died, then you don't even have to worry about fighting any new ones when you go back to get your gear as a new character. I say throw more zombies in there, and don't give any of the new survivors weapons. Make them find it along the way. They have to earn it, Hex.
Wow. Okay, well, I don't think I share your masochistic tendencies, but let's talk about how the game has changed from the Wii U version, which built a lot of tension around your character being vulnerable while they were accessing features on the gamepad screen. But I think they've done a good job of keeping all of that tension in the new version.
Yeah, absolutely. The main gamepad uses were for scanning and inventory. And in the new versions, you're just as vulnerable when doing both, because you're locked in place and unable to pause the action. Scanning is pretty essential though, for finding loot you could easily miss in the darkness.
The game sure is loaded with loot, isn't it? Especially ammo. Initially I was saving my bullets and just using melee all the time, but then I found I had to use my guns more, so my backpack wasn't filled with ammo.
Yeah, there's plenty of ammo, but not much food. I spent some lengthy sessions in the game on low health just because I couldn't find anything to eat. Which is probably why I was desperate enough to eat everything I found on zombies' bodies, even slices of cake.
Oh, I know. What was up with that? I mean, cake is not something I'd want to eat out of my best friend's pocket, let alone some corpse I'd just been fighting. Gross. On that note, though, we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, well, this has some pretty rough edges, and the Wii U isn't a graphical powerhouse compared to the other consoles, so this does look quite dated now, even with the minor improvements they've made to the lighting. But even so, Hex, this is gripping survival gameplay at its core. I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
Yeah, I didn't click with it as much as you did. I mean, I think it certainly delivers on the tension, but I just found it more frustrating than fun, so I'm giving it 2 stars.
Shite. And not before time. There's a horde approaching. Check your radar.